Devin Patrick Kelly, Omar Mateen, and Dylan Roof are all mass shooters that did their killings within the past 5 years. The thing that connects them besides being killers are that they all have a history of violent behavior and anger issues. As human beings, we are emotional creatures. Everything we do involves some type of emotion. And depending on what emotion we feel at the time determines how we carry out certain tasks. When happy, we are calm and easygoing. When sad, we are slow to act and distracted. When angry, we are extremely aggressive and disruptive. As our emotions vary, so do our actions. When this happens, we can inflict unnecessary harm to others. Harm just like Devin, Omar, and Dylan caused. Today I'm here to talk to you about how anger has a stronger connection to gun violence than mental illness and what we can do to prevent such violence from happening. Anger is one of the strongest emotions we have. But what exactly is it? Anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, and hostility. Think about the last time you were angry. Did you think differently than you normally would? Did you act differently than you normally would? Usually when we are angry, our judgment is clouded and we act out of our norm. When angry, we don't think about the consequences we may face. In the heat of the moment, we're just looking for an outlet to release our built-up aggression. When we do this, problems arise. Now, in the case of all three of the mass shooters mentioned earlier, the court diagnostics claimed that all three shooters have a mental illness. When you think about it, you will agree with the court. Nobody in their right mind would just goes out and starts killing people. But what we have to understand is that sometimes we associate that having anger issues of having mental illnesses. According to the American Psychiatric Association, mental illness is a health condition involving changes in thinking, emotion, and behavior. In the case of Devin, Omar, and Dylan, this can't be applied because they did not have any health conditions that caused them to proceed with their violent acts. They just did so strictly out of anger and rage. A report by Aaron Screwmaker of Huffington Post says that mental illness only accounts for 4% of gun violence in the U.S., meaning that 96% of gun violence is a result of anger-fueled conflicts. People with anger issues have a hard time coping with the anger and they don't have help. They can inflict unnecessary harm. Let's take a look at some of Devin's, Omar's, and Dylan's history.
Devin Patrick Kelly, in 2012, was found guilty of domestic violence after assaulting his then wife and child. In 2014, Kelly was charged with misdemeanor count of mistreatment, neglect, and cruelty to animals. Throughout Devin's whole working career, he had impulsive anger, and he would either abuse people or animals. He was really quiet, but when he got fed up, he just became really violent. Omar Mateen, for 4 years, he abused his wife, and because of that, he was charged with domestic violence for all 4 of those years. Like I said, he had impulse anger as well, and he just kept everything inside until one day he just went off on her, and he would continue to abuse her. And lastly, Dylan Roof, he had a lot of stress on him. His parents were divorced at an early age, and because of that, he started doing drugs at the age of 13, and he continued to do so all the way throughout high school, which later he did drop out of high school because he lost interest. And once he dropped out of high school, he used the internet to look up white supremacy, and he began to have an interest in white supremacy. And because of that, he started planning his plot to do a mass shooting, which led to misdemeanor charges.
You would think because of all these violent acts, a red flag would have been raised and local authorities would have kept an eye on these people like this, trying to prevent them from having access to guns and inflicting any harm on others. Sadly, that's not the case. In fact, most mass shooters' red flags are raised, but nobody really acts on it. When nobody acts on it, their lives are at risk. According to the Huffington Post, there was a study done by Harvard researchers that found that 1 out of 10 adults have a history of impulsive anger and access to guns. The government at the national and state level need to do a better job of seeking out these people before it's too late. For that to happen, we must recognize people with anger issues and try to get them help. The last thing we want them to do is have people like this going around with guns without the necessary psychological help that is needed. I propose that in order for gun violence to go down, potential gun carriers should be required to take an anger management course and stress level test at least twice a year. According to Human Improvement Journal, anger management techniques help people to really dive into their emotions so there can be an understanding of what they're feeling at the moment. This revealing of emotion, if counseled, can ease people's mental states, causing them to be less aggressive and violent. Going through this process can help prevent and ease gun violence situations. According to Jose Hilaire and Aaron Smith at CNN, when a person goes to a federally licensed gun dealer, there's a background check requirement. The The background check checks criminal records and reported mental history. This helps in cases of those with only violent backgrounds. So for those who have impulse anger issues, they have cleared access to get guns. With my proposal, this clear access will be delayed until they have met the new requirements. Gun safety and violence in this time and age is a big issue here in the U.S. People are divided because they're concerned over whether or not their Second Amendment will be altered. This should not be the issue that means more lives will be saved. Every day we hear about deaths that are a result of someone's anger getting the best of them. Now's the time to say enough is enough. As people, we must come together and help each other deal with the situation. Mental health plays a major role with these problems. If we can keep people to have a calm mental state, then I guarantee you that gun violence in the U.S.